Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of the Payoff Pitch. I'm your host Paul Valley, and this is actually our last Payoff Pitch episode as it pertains to the Orioles 2016 season. Now there will be more episodes in the months to come, but that's going to focus more on the 2017 season and the off-season moves, rather than what's happened in 2016. So as everybody knows, the Orioles finished the season 89-73. They tied with the Blue Jays for second place. However, because the Blue Jays won the season series 10 games to 9, the Orioles had to travel to Toronto last night to face the Blue Jays in that wild card game. And unfortunately, things didn't end well. The Orioles played a hard-fought game, but ended up losing in the 11th inning on a walk-off 3-run home run by Edwin Encarnacion, who happened to hit that home run off Ubaldo Jimenez. And that's where a lot of ire and vitriol is coming from the fans, and it's directed towards Buck Showalter right now, because Showalter had an opportunity to get that game to the 12th inning by bringing in Zach Britton, who had warmed 3 times but was never brought into the game. There was a first and third situation with 1 out in the bottom of the 11th. Showalter made a visit to the mound, and instead of taking Ubaldo out and bringing in Britton, an 80% ground ball pitcher, he left Ubaldo in, and he promptly gave up a 440-foot monster shot to Encarnacion to end the Orioles season and send the Blue Jays to the ALDS against the Texas Rangers. And a lot of people, myself included, are wondering how you can leave Zach Britton on the bench in that situation. Zach Britton himself was frustrated. I believe he used the word frustrating 6 times in his post-game interview when discussing the matter. In my opinion, Britton's got to be in that game. He's your best pitcher. He was 47 for 47 in saves this season, and he set a major league record for lowest ERA in the history of the game by a pitcher who pitched 50 or more innings. His ERA was .54. Minuscule, microscopic. That guy's got to be in the game. Buck knows it now. We can all be armchair quarterbacks right here and say, yeah, why wasn't Britton in the game? But we've never been in that situation. We've never managed a baseball team. Buck has. You got to trust him. He's not going to make the right moves every single time, and last night was one of those times where his move failed. What I don't understand is people saying that Buck Showalter should be fired for that move. That's asinine. The fact of the matter is, there's only maybe one other manager that could have taken the team that Buck Showalter was given at the beginning of this year and gotten them into the playoffs, and in my opinion, that's Joe Girardi. Joe Madden couldn't have done what Buck did with this team. Bruce Bochy couldn't have done it. You name the manager, couldn't have done it. Buck Showalter and maybe Joe Girardi, the only 2 managers in the game that could have taken this team that was all or nothing at the plate and absolutely nothing on the mound for the first 5 months of the year and gotten into the playoffs. I, for one, think that Buck should be lauded and not criticized for the job that he did with this team and should be a dark horse candidate for Manager of the Year. Of course, he won't win, but that's how good of a year I think Buck Showalter had, and I think to criticize him and mark his season based on that move last night rather than what he did the other 162 games is just irresponsible. That being said, the Orioles season ended on a sour note, not just because they lost, but because they lost to the Blue Jays and the way that they lost. The Orioles had 11 innings to score 3 runs, basically. Because if they score 3 runs, Britton's in that situation in the bottom of the 11th and not Ubaldo. Fact of the matter is, Ubaldo Jimenez, in his career as a reliever, has a 7.61 ERA. I'm sorry, a 7.56 ERA. This year as a reliever, in 10 and the third innings, he gave up 10 hits, 10 runs, and 3 home runs for an 8.71 ERA. The guy's a starting pitcher. Different routine, different regimen to prepare for a ball game. He shouldn't have been in there. He shouldn't have been in the game. Britton should have been. I can't blame Ubaldo for that. I can blame Buck, but like I said, that to me isn't what speaks out about the season for him. Moving forward, the Orioles have a lot of things to address. They didn't pitch well for most of the year from the starting rotation. Their ERA was .422 this year, which is not good enough to get the job done, guys. It's in the bottom third of Major League Baseball. The bullpen ERA was the best in the American League, far better than the starting rotation. That's kind of what saved the season for the Orioles, just how strong that bullpen was. I think going into next year, that's going to be a strength for the team again. I think what we're also going to see as a strength of the team is going to be that starting rotation, because we saw guys like Dylan Bundy and Kevin Gausman take major steps forward this year. I think that next year you're going to see 180 innings out of Dylan Bundy if he can stay healthy. And I think you're going to see 200 innings and 200 strikeouts out of Kevin Gausman next year. I think this guy's finally arrived. And then you have Chris Tillman, who's going to be starting for you right there. You have 3 solid starters next year coming out of spring training if everybody stays healthy. Now, what the Orioles need to focus on in the offseason as far as the pitching is concerned is you have 3 guys who kind of scare you for those final 2 rotation spots, and that's Yovani Gallardo, Wade Miley, and Ubaldo Jimenez. There's not really a big free agent crop this offseason as far as starting pitching is concerned. Doug Fister is the only one who I would even want to take a look at, but this guy's another year older, and he's got declining statistics. He's kind of like another Ubaldo Jimenez or Yovani Gallardo. If you sign him, you're getting what you pay for. You know, he had a 1-year, $7 million deal with the Astros this year. He pitched pretty well. If he had pitched for the Orioles this year, they may have won the division. You never know. But can you count on that guy next year? Because otherwise you're looking to guys like Bartolo Colon, who's either going to re-sign with the Mets or he's going to retire. You're looking at C.J. Wilson, who hasn't been able to stay healthy for 3 years, and he's 35 years old now. And then a bunch of other guys who are, you know, getting over the hill and just really aren't going to strike fear in a lot of opposing lineups. The offense, to me, though, is by far and away the biggest concern moving forward. It's enough's enough. Enough is absolutely enough. You have 5 consecutive years of 200-plus home runs. You have 4 consecutive years where the major league leader in home runs happened to be a Baltimore Oriole. And that's all good and well. But the bottom line is that the Orioles scored 744 runs this year while hitting 253 home runs. That's unacceptable. If a team hits 253 home runs, they should be scoring 800, 900, 1,000 runs, in my personal opinion. But the Orioles, again, this year struggled at getting on base. They had an on-base percentage of .317 this year, which isn't good enough, especially when you have all those power hitters who should be able to walk a lot more than they did. The Orioles' 5th highest on-base percentage this year came from Jonathan Scope, and that was .298. That's not cutting the mustard, guys. I'm sorry. The Orioles need to take a different approach on offense, and they really need to address that this year. As much as I love Mark Trumbo and as much as I appreciate his 47 home runs and 108 RBIs this year, what I don't appreciate is a .316 on-base percentage and 170 strikeouts. I would much rather have a guy like Hyun-Soo Kim in my lineup who's going to hit 300 and get on base at almost a 400 clip than a guy who's going to hit 250, hit a ton of home runs, strike out a ton, and not get on base unless he's hitting a home run. Love what Mark Trumbo did, but unless the Orioles can get him on the cheap like they did this past year, only giving up Steve Clevenger for him, good luck in your future endeavors, man. I think he'll end up with either the Houston Astros and New York Yankees, both of whom are going to need a DH/first baseman type. The Yankees more so a DH than a first baseman because they have Aaron Judge. But the Astros more so a first baseman than a DH. So I think Trumbo's gone, which for me isn't that big of a deal. I think they do everything they can to bring back Michael Bourne because he adds an element to this team that they didn't have all year. The Orioles had 6 triples all year, which was the lowest team total for triples since 1878. And they had 19 stolen bases. There were 28 players in Major League Baseball this year that had more stolen bases than the Orioles as a team. And I think that Michael Bourne brings that added element to the team. He's going to get 20 stolen bases by himself for you. Maybe he's a 4th outfielder. Maybe he's your starting right fielder next year, starting left fielder. Who knows? I think Kim's going to be the everyday left fielder. Which brings me to another point. Kim, along with the rest of the Baltimore Orioles lineup, has to get better at hitting left-handed pitching. They hit .234 this year against left-handed pitching, worst in the American League. Kim in his career is 0 for 19 against lefties. If he wants to be an everyday player and help this team get past the wild card game next year, help this team get back to a World Series for the first time in what will end up being 34 years at a minimum, he needs to be able to hit lefties, and I think he's going to work on that all off season because he wants to be in that lineup every day. And honestly, he might be the best pure hitter on the team. He should be in that lineup every day. Now, I'm going to do other shows here in the next few weeks. Probably going to wait till after the World Series to do another show, and that's when I'll talk about free agents that the Orioles should covet. Right now, I want to talk about the Orioles re-signing their own players, and there are 4 key players that they need to really seriously consider extending this offseason. First and foremost is Manny Machado. He's arbitration eligible again. He made $5 million this year. You better believe he had an MVP caliber season. That's going to go up to about $10, $11, $12 million this year. You're looking at Jonathan Scope, who made $523,000 this year. That's going to go up to about $5 or $6 million probably because he was a 25 homer, 270 guy this year. Zach Britton, he made $6.75 million last year. That's going to skyrocket. Best closer in the game right now. He's going to make a ton of money in arbitration this year. And then you're looking at Chris Tillman. He made $6.23 million last year, then came out, won 16 games. The Orioles went 20-8 in his 28 regular starts, pitched to a sub-4 ERA, had a really nice bounce-back year. He's gonna jump up. You're looking at probably 3 of those 4 guys making double-digit millions next season in arbitration alone. So the Orioles' payroll is going to go up, even when they lose Trumbo. The thing here is Manny Machado is a free agent after the 2018 season. Zach Britton is a free agent after the 2018 season. Chris Tillman is a free agent after the 2017 season, and Jonathan Scope is a free agent after the 2019 season. The Orioles are going to have to do a lot of extensions this offseason to keep the core of this team together for an extended period of time. You want to keep Machado, you re-sign Scope. You want to keep Scope, you re-sign Machado. Those guys are best friends. I think I've said it before, I think if you sign one, you sign the other. Here's the deal, though. If the Orioles and Manny Machado can't come to an agreement this offseason, I hate to say it, but you got to trade him. Because he's a Scott Boras client. If he doesn't, I believe he's a Scott Boras client. I'm going to have to check on that. If I'm wrong, I apologize, but I think he is. And if he doesn't get an extension this year, he's going to hit free agency, and somebody's going to offer more money than the Orioles. So you have to either extend him this offseason or trade him to keep your team competitive. And that's really all that it comes down to. Now, if you trade him, you're probably going to lose Jonathan Scope too, unfortunately. You need Chris Tillman. You need to extend him because after 2017, he's gone otherwise, and he's the anchor of your rotation. As good as Kevin Gossman, Dylan Bundy might be next year, you're still going to need Chris Tillman to be a third guy in that rotation for you moving forward. And Zach Britton, you already let Andrew Miller walk for $9-10 million a year. Zach Britton is worth every penny that he's going to get, and he deserves to be one of the highest paid relievers, one of the highest paid closers in the game, if not the highest paid. And the Orioles need to do everything they can to be the team that gives him that contract. Also, another big thing I think they need to do, and I think it was proven this year based on the backups production, Caleb Joseph, no home runs, no RBIs this season. Matt Wieters, you got to re-sign him. Give him 4 years, $72 million to be your catcher, and, move forward with him on your team. He's a core guy on the team. The teammates love him, and while he may only hit 240 or 250, he's still going to hit 20 home runs next year. He's still going to drive in 80 runs next year. He's going to throw out 34% like he's done for his entire career, and he's going to give you gold glove defense behind the plate. Absolutely need to keep him signed. To get him signed, that is to say. With that being said, I will mention one free agent. One free agent in this show, and then I'll talk about it in the next show, which will probably be in a few weeks, like I said, after the World Series. I'll talk about other free agents that the Orioles could go after. But there's one guy that I think they should go after, and that's Matt Holliday. And I know I'm going to get criticized for it because he's 36 years old. He's been injury-plagued the last 2 years. But this guy, when he's healthy, is a career .303 hitter with a career .372 on-base percentage. His average season is 27 home runs and 102 RBIs. This is absolutely a guy that the Orioles should go after. His option is not going to be picked up. The $17 million option with him and the Cardinals aren't going to pick that up, so he's going to be a free agent. This guy is in the same mold as a Carlos Beltran. He's going to be productive. You go pick him up and you make him your everyday DH, give him a few spot starts in the outfield to rest some other guys along the way. But that's a guy who you can plug into your lineup and have him hit cleanup immediately for you. And he gives you a bona fide number 4 hitter. You don't have to worry with him about hitting 240 with 170 plus strikeouts, because that's not his game. His game is batting average, on base percentage, and driving in runs. And that's who you want hitting cleanup. I can live with Chris Davis batting 5th if I have a guy like Matt Holliday batting 4th. And so that's all I'm going to say about the free agents right now. Like I said, we'll get into that on another show. That's going to do it for me today, guys. Thanks for following me all season. I wish I would have done more shows, but I decided that I didn't have a very professional look for most of the shows this season, and I'm trying to go somewhere with this, so I wanted to, kind of look like I had my act together before I did any other shows. Looking for a better look next year. Appreciate the following. Stick with me, because I feel like we're going to do big things with this show. Thank you to the Baltimore Orioles for an exciting and competitive 2016 season. Here's hoping 2017 is that much better. And as always, go O's. Love you guys. Thanks so much.